Good day from me, Advocate Nadene Badenhorst, the Legal Counsel of Freedom of Religion South Africa, or 4SA. This is a very important video for the leadership of all churches and all religious institutions in South Africa, as well as for pastors and other persons who are religious marriage officers. Now, the South African Law Reform Commission, or the SALRC, was tasked by the Minister of Home Affairs some years ago already to look into the possible adoption of a single marriage act that would regulate all the different kinds of marriages in South Africa. In other words, heterosexual, same-sex, polygamous, as well as all the different kinds of religious marriages. The reason for this is that we currently have a fragmented approach to marriages and other relationships in South Africa. We have laws regulating some marriages and relationships, and in other instances, no laws at all. And so the intention would be to bring all these different kinds of marriages and relationships home into a single act, so as to ensure that they enjoy equal legal protection and recognition. And this may be a sensible thing. The SALRC has now released a discussion paper in which they table their proposals for what such a bill could possibly look like. And it is right here that we want to raise a red flag. Because in contrast to the current Marriage Act, which contains a very explicit clause that says that marriage officers may refuse to solemnize marriages that do not line up with their religious convictions and beliefs, the bill proposed by the SALRC does not contain any such clause at all. In other words, the bill proposed by the SALRC does not say that religious marriage officers may refuse, but it also doesn't say that they may not refuse. It is simply silent on the issue. And it is in this omission that there potentially lies a great danger. Because if the bill had to be adopted in its current form, in other words, without saying specifically whether religious officers have the right to conscientious objection or not, it is very possible that there might be a legal challenge against a religious officer who would refuse on grounds of his or her religious convictions and beliefs to perform a certain marriage. And if presented to a court may well look at the bill, if it had to be adopted in this form, and say, well, it is true that it no longer contains that explicit protection, and therefore we must assume that there is no longer such a right of conscientious objection for religious marriage officers, and this clearly would be very problematic. It clearly would have major ramifications for all religious organizations and for all religious marriage officers of whatever faith in South Africa, because it would literally force them by law to solemnize marriages that potentially completely violate their own religious convictions and beliefs. So, for instance, a Christian marriage officer could then be forced to perform a Muslim marriage, or a Muslim marriage officer could be forced to perform a Hindu marriage, or a Hindu marriage officer could, for instance, be forced to perform a same-sex marriage, even if that doesn't line up with his or her religious beliefs. And so clearly this is very, very serious. And the question then is, what do we do? Well, the SALRC discussion paper has been opened up for comment by the public up until the 17th of May. And it is extremely important that every church, every religious organization, every religious marriage officer of whatever faith in South Africa give input and make submissions in this regard, and do so before the 17th of May. The SALRC's discussion paper, as well as details on how to make a submission, can be found on the 4SA website. I also want to encourage you to share this video, like this video, share it as far and wide as possible. Our faith and our freedom are at stake. For more about this issue or other matters relating to religious freedom, visit the 4SA website at www.4sa.org.za. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.